Top of the table clash is the highlight of the fixtures this weekend. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. Let's take a quick look at the table before we get into this week's fixtures. So Leinster heading the way, still perfect record, 8 from 8. Haven't dropped a game this year. Bit of a gap in terms of points down to Ulster in second. They've only lost to one, and they come back on the back of a decent win at the weekend as well. But still close behind them, you have the Bulls and Stormers, both won at the weekend too, to keep that pressure up on them. Edinburgh, they lost at the weekend to Benetton, so there's a bit of a gap there for them down in fifth. They're then under a little bit of pressure from Cardiff, who became the first Welsh region to win in South Africa. They're in sixth now. Lions, first home win of the season for them, sees them in seventh place. Benetton with that win over Edinburgh. They're in eighth in the last of the playoff spots at the minute. Munster, who are coming into a bit of form now, up into ninth after the win over Connacht. And the Warriors, who got a bit of a drubbing from Leinster, one of the big losers of the weekend, they're down to 10th and outside of the playoff spots. Dragons, who've had a decent enough season, they couldn't get a losing bonus point in their game, but they're down in 11th. Sharks, who dropped that game to Cardiff and got absolutely hammered, they have to be said, in that one. They're now down into 12th, so not looking as good as they were earlier on in the season. Connacht, they lost to Munster, but they did get the losing bonus point. They're in 13th, just ahead of the Ospreys. Ospreys lost at the weekend. Scarlets then down in 15th place, and they need to find a win, I feel, or they're going to become detached from those above them, and then it's just going to be a scrap between them and Zebre to avoid the wooden spoon. And speaking of Zebre, they're down in 16th place. Didn't really lay a hand on Ulster in their game, and they're going to want to, finally find that first win of the season. They've put in the performances for it, but they just haven't, especially in recent weeks, they haven't really been performing, actually, I have to say. But early on in the season, they have performed well. May have deserved to get at least a win out of those games, but now they've got to dig in deep to finally deliver that win. First up in the Friday games, we have Sharks versus Ospreys. Both teams coming off defeats into this one. 12th versus 14th. I feel a win here for either of the teams is going to give them a little bit of momentum so they can get their season going again, especially going into European games as well. It'd be nice to sign off this block of games with a win. So expecting a tight game here. Probably, Sharks weren't great against Cardiff, but they're going to have their Springboks back. Is that going to be enough for them to win this one? I feel a home advantage probably will help them a lot on that. Also on Friday, we have Edinburgh versus Munster. 5th versus 9th. Edinburgh, decent season so far. They did lose last time out, though, against Benetton. Munster finding a bit of form. Can they produce away from home, though? That's going to be a tough one for them. If Munster really are going to be contenders this season, I feel like they've got to get something out of this game, especially, again, going into European competition, where Munster just thrive on Europe. I kind of feel like they're, especially of the URC teams, probably the team who are most focused on performances in Europe, but they're definitely going to want to do something here. It's going to be a tight one, this one, I feel, as well, and I really should back the home team again in this one, but I feel like Munster are going to pull something out here. Into Saturday then, we have Stormers versus Dragons, 4th versus 11th. Dragons, I feel like this is going to be another one where they put in an admirable performance, but come away with a defeat. Stormers, again, probably going to have a lot of their Springboks back, and they're probably looking at the other games that are happening this weekend and feel like it's a chance for them either to jump Ulster if they win or to close in on Leinster if Leinster lose that one against Ulster. Then we have Zebre versus the Warriors, 16th versus 10th. This is probably one where Zebre will feel that there's a chance to get that elusive first win of the season for them. Glasgow, they're a decent team going forward, but they are going to give Zebre chances to turn the ball over and attack them as well. So Zebre are on their game. They could definitely pull out the win there. But Glasgow, if they're in form, you could see them as well, just racking up a big score with Zebre's tries just being kind of consolations. That one is it's hard to call because of that, but I'm going to go for a Zebre first home win of the season on that one, but might end up with egg on my face if Glasgow run up a big score. Right, then we have the two green teams clashing. So we have Connacht versus Benetton, 13th versus 8th. Benetton have done pretty well this season. They've actually been performing on the road as well. Connacht have been, they've been performing, but not necessarily winning. I think this is one certainly that they're going to want to get a win in. And Carty, I feel, is in a decent bit of form for them. And I'm just going to go for them to just about pip this one, I think. Then we have Bulls versus Cardiff. So both teams coming off wins. Bulls in 3rd, Cardiff now up to 6th. Cardiff got their first win in South Africa last weekend, but I feel like this one is going to be maybe it's definitely going to be tougher for them. I think it might be a little bit too tough for them coming off that great effort last week. And I think that the Bulls are probably going to take that one. Then we have the big game of the round. We have Leinster versus Ulster, 1st versus 2nd. Leinster in the RDS. And I feel like it's one where home advantage is going to count for them. Ulster have been pretty decent form lately, but I just feel Leinster might have just that little bit more to pull it out for them. It would be interesting, even as a Leinster fan, it would be interesting to see Ulster winning that one and kind of putting a bit more pressure on them. But again, we're talking about teams who are going to go into big European matches the following week. And I feel like that Leinster will want to hit form in this one and really put down a marker. But whatever, I think it's going to be a very exciting game. Then into Sunday, we have the only game on the Sunday is the Lions versus the Scarlets. So 7th versus 15th. The Lions got their first home win of the season last weekend. Facing 15th place Scarlets, they're probably thinking, okay, this is a good chance now to get back-to-back home wins for us and to cement their place in the playoffs for at least for a while, because we're going to be going into Europe for a while. Scarlets, they really need to start turning their season around, but I'm not sure they're going to do it in this one. Maybe they want to get back to Parky Scarlet and build from there. Probably looking for a performance here, but not necessarily a win. And then when we come back from the European games, they can see where they are. For that reason, I think I'm just going to go for a home win in this one. Lions 2 in a row at home.